What's good, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. And in today's video, we're going to be doing episode number 2 of my series where I'm breaking down my 6-figure wholesale deals that I have done in my career. These are wholesale deals where I've made over $100,000 profit on one deal. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down my $210,000 wholesale deal that I did in California. Guys, this was an amazing 6-figure deal. I wasn't able to just make $100,000, but I was able to make $210,000. Guys, this is the biggest deal that I've done in my 5-year career of wholesaling real estate. I started wholesaling at the age of 16. I just turned 22 years old yesterday, actually. And in my 5-year-long career of wholesaling real estate, this is the biggest deal I've ever done. I'm going to be breaking down exactly how we found this deal, the process of talking to the seller, getting it under contract, marketing it and selling it to a cash buyer, and closing the deal. I'm going to be breaking down the deal from start to finish in this video. That being said, it's going to be super valuable, so make sure you stick around and watch the whole video. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you go down below, hit the red button, and subscribe. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. So, how did we find this deal? What marketing channel did it come from? This deal actually came from a referral from another seller. We closed a deal in San Diego, California, and this seller told us that she had a friend that needed to sell her property a couple months after we bought her property. She reached out and she said, "Hey, I want to connect you with my friend. They need to sell, and they need to sell fast, and they want to sell in as-is condition just like I did to you." The original seller we found from cold calling. So I could say that it kind of came from cold calling. The first seller came from cold calling, and then that seller referred us this seller. This deal was absolutely crazy. So first off, let me mention this. The seller was a B-list, maybe A-list celebrity, a B-list celebrity that's on an A-list celebrity show. I don't want to reveal which celebrity it was, but guys, this is like high level celebrity that we're buying their house. And it was crazy. The first reason they wanted to sell us the property was because their tenants that had been in the property for the past few years were going to be moving out of the property, and they were no longer going to have a tenant for the property. They didn't want to re-rent it out again, and they just wanted to get rid of it. The second reason they wanted to sell it was this celebrity allegedly didn't pay their taxes. And so there was a massive tax lien on the property. The tax lien on the property was for almost $1.3 million owed to the IRS. Now, unfortunately, the property was worth about $1.5 million fully remodeled, and with them owing $1.3 million in its current condition, even though the property was in pretty good shape, it still needed a remodel to be worth 1.5. It was not worth 1.3 million in its current condition. So they were underwater. They owed more in their tax lien to the IRS than what the property was worth. And we needed to get this property under contract for $900,000 in order to make the deal work. Well, obviously we could have paid a bit more because we were able to make a big deal on this, but when negotiating with the seller, they said they were cool with $900,000 as long as we could get the IRS to release the lien for the $900,000. Now I had to do my research. I had to do my digging. How am I going to get the IRS to satisfy this tax lien for $900,000? So I had to do my research, and I found a rule in the IRS code, right, where they have all their different rules and regulations and exemptions and all that. And I found out that they do have a form that you can fill out. I forget exactly which form it is, but you can fill it out, and you can request them to exempt you from the full amount of the lien and just take the payoff, the total proceeds from the sale of the property. So once I found that out, I'm like, okay, we're good. But there was one more thing that was required that I was a little bit skeptical if we were going to be able to pull off or not, because we needed to get an appraisal of the property to come in around $900,000 for the IRS, that department, to say, okay, this is reasonable. The appraisal of the value of the property is coming in at around what the cash offer is that the buyer is buying the property for, so we will agree to release the tax lien and just take $900,000 rather than the $1.3 million. So I had to find an appraiser that could go out to the property and do this appraisal. And so I did that, and I paid this appraiser about $500, so I was risking money on this deal, because if the appraisal came back way higher than $900,000, the IRS probably wouldn't approve it, and then I wouldn't be looking good at all on this deal. So I was really hoping that the appraisal would come in around $900,000, and I assumed it would be around $900,000, but I thought maybe it would come in closer to $1 million. But I knew it wasn't going to come in at 1.3, 1.5 because the property did need a decent amount of work. The floors were all messed up, and I'll throw up some photos of the property on here. Fortunately, the appraisal came in right where we needed it. It came in at $930,000. So now that we have the appraisal, we were able to complete the form, connect the appraisal to it, submit all this into the right department at the IRS. And guys, let me tell you, it was a challenge and a half trying to get these people from the IRS on the phone and work through this. It was such a challenge. And I also had to get a letter of authorization to talk on behalf of the seller to the IRS for her and have it notarized. That was a whole process, so that way I could work this out for her. But once I was able to successfully get everything submitted to the IRS, it took about 3 more weeks of review for them to approve it, and I was calling like every few days trying to get an update, and my representative at the IRS was definitely getting annoyed at me, but I was just trying to get the deal done. So once we got the approval from the IRS that they would do it, they would release the lien for just $900,000 rather than the 1.3. They would exempt that and then let it go. Right? They called it a wash. They said, okay, you're good. Just give us all the proceeds. You can't get any money from the sale and you're good. Then we knew we could now market the deal to find a cash buyer. So now I took my photos of the property and I started marketing the deal out to my list of cash buyers that I had in California. And also I was sending it out to hedge funds that bought in California. And this hedge fund called Wedgwood really wanted to buy the deal, but they said they needed to walk through the property twice. They needed to walk through it once as a preliminary, and then they also, because it was a higher purchase price point, normally they don't need to do this, but they wanted to send an inspector to the property and get a full inspection of it. And because the floors were messed up, they were worried that there was foundation issues, so they wanted to do that. But ultimately, they did their 2 walkthroughs, and they still wanted to buy the deal. But unfortunately, they didn't want to buy the property for my full asking price. I was asking $1.15 million. $1,150,000 for the property. That would make me $250,000 on the deal. I knew that was a little bit high, so I was understanding when they wanted to negotiate, and we were able to agree on $110,000. Initially, they wanted to do $1.05 million, $1,050,000, but I was like, nah, and I kept negotiating up. I was trying to get them at $1,125,000. But they wouldn't do it, and I got them to agree to $1,110,000, and that would leave me $210,000 to make. Now that I had a buyer that wanted to buy the deal, I wrote up the assignment contract and sent it to the buyer. They signed it, and now I had everything lined up. And I didn't do a double closing on this deal either because I knew Wedgwood, as this hedge fund that I've worked with many, many times and sold them many, many deals, they weren't going to care how much money I was making. So I didn't do a double close. I didn't hide my assignment fee. They saw how much I was going to make, and it wasn't a problem at all. The closing took place 14 days after they committed to the deal on contract, so they closed very quick on the deal, and just like that, it closed. The IRS lien got released, the title was now clear to the property, it was able to close, and I got cut a $210,000 check, and it was one of the best days of my career in business. There's not too many days as an entrepreneur where you're going to make $210,000 on one deal in one day. Now you're probably wondering, sounds like this deal was a little complex, dealing with the IRS, this lien, the celebrity, the property needing some work, selling it to a hedge fund, all of that. You know, it was complex, but surprisingly, from getting the contract signed for $900,000 with the seller to actually getting it closed, this deal only took about 75 days. To complete, which is not that long because a lot of times deals in real estate, they take 90 days. And if you guys watched my first video in this series of my 6-figure wholesale deal that I did at 18 years old where I made $130,000, that deal took me over 2 years from reaching the seller to actually getting paid. And so this deal for me to make $210 only took me about 75 days from start to finish. And by the way, guys, if you haven't watched the other videos in this series of my 6-figure deals, definitely go watch them. So overall, pretty quick process from contract to close, and this deal was super, super amazing. I'm so grateful to be able to make $200,000 on one deal, and it was mind-opening for sure, right? You know, in this business, we do a lot of deals that are 15, 20 grand, 10 grand, right? You know, we're doing deals like that consistently every single month, but it's not so often where you're able to hit home runs like this. And I'm just so glad that we were able to do this because it really helped us achieve a lot more success that year. I was able to invest a lot of the money back into my business, back into my team. Also, my sales rep that locked up this deal, he got paid a massive commission on the deal, and it was just like a win-win situation for everybody. The seller was able to get rid of their property and get rid of a $1.3 million tax lien when their property wasn't even worth $1.3 million. So they were able to save $400,000 in tax lien through this strategy and through what we were able to do and how we were able to help them. And we were able to make 210, and the hedge fund went on and flipped the property. And when I looked, it looked like they sold it for 1.55. So I'm assuming they made at least $150,000 on the deal. So overall, it was a win-win situation for everybody. And guys, I would love to do this deal every single day of the week, as I'm sure you would. And so my piece of advice for you is just stay committed to this business. This deal that I got and made 200 on, I think I had been in the business for about 3.5 years at the time of doing this deal. I've been in the business since I was 16. I'm now 22 years old, so I've been doing it for about 5 years. And all I can say is, guys, consistency and hard work is always rewarded. If you just keep putting those reps in, keep showing up every day, eventually you're going to get a 6-figure deal as well. So make sure you stay committed to this business. But with that being said, I hope you guys found this video valuable and I hope you guys liked it. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, go down below, hit the red button, subscribe. It helps me reach more people and grow the channel, so I'd really appreciate it if you go subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.